Welcome to the Fleet Legends interview series. We all know the fleet management industry is always evolving, but one constant remains: the immense value of wisdom gained through decades of experience. The Fleet Legends interview series, sponsored by Legend Fleet, captures and shares the expertise of seasoned fleet managers, industry pioneers, and dedicated leaders who have shaped the field over decades of dedication. Their stories preserve fleet wisdom, offering actionable advice, practical insights, and historical context for today's leaders and tomorrow's innovators. As Vice President of Content for Bobit, I'm Lauren Fletcher, and I'm thrilled to host this series. During my time writing about fleet, I know how crucial it is to ensure the lessons learned by seasoned professionals continue to inform our industry.
Creating a better day for the legends of the road with the non-slip van floors, protective interior liners, and full range of work van accessories. Trusted by major OEMs and fleets all across North America and Europe.
Today, I'm excited to welcome John Dmochowsky. John, your career has been nothing short of legendary. Can you share a little bit about your journey in fleet and what's brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, a little bit about my journey. It started in 2000, and I came from the sales community with Kraft Foods. And having achieved my MBA, about a month after the graduation, I get a call from corporate saying, "Hey, John, we'd like for you to come to work for sales operations." And that included running the fleet. So of course I said yes, because after 18 years of sales, you really become accustomed to the ways of working, and I feel as I progressed throughout the time that I had a passion for something that was related to sales, where I still had a close connection with sales, but a role with a different capacity, and that happened to be sales operation. So that's how it all started, and of course throughout the journey since 2020, I was able to live through the acquisition of another company. I was able to live through the integration with Nabisco and Kraft. And then finally, at the end, at the age of 55, running the fleet department, I had the opportunity to run the global fleet of over 10,000 plus vehicles. So I was at the right place at the right time, but I was sharpening my skills, such as pursuing an MBA, to get to that next level, because I did some research and I found out that the sales operations department, the majority of the people that work there had their MBA. So thus, it was a benefit. And of course, the company paid for it, which was an extreme benefit since I had two children in late high school getting ready to go to college at that particular time. So that's the extent how I got in. And once I got in, I became addicted to the culture, because the culture was so fantastic, and the culture really brought out my passion. Having been involved with a lot of association work, both associations, I really developed a skill set that I didn't have before. Yes, internally, I was able to work well with my internal cross-functional team and my specific team. But the external piece, I really learned that how critical the value chain of the fleet management industry is. That value chains consist of many different companies, different skill sets, and all the advantages that we were successfully achieved was due to a team effort and due to our external partners.
I love that story. In reflecting back on your career so far, what are some of the more significant changes that you've seen in the fleet management industry?
Well, once again, since 2000, the biggest change I see is digitalization, data. The leasing value chain has stakeholders that are transforming our industry, and By doing that, they're improving our external stakeholders are improving our innovations as well as the process innovation and as well as the instant service we get with the intelligence of the software. And to me, that was a big leap. As digitalization continues, I believe that data will become the most important value than ever before. I really believe that. And then we can also look at some of the changes that we're reflecting in the industry, which is electric vehicles. I mean, I was fortunate enough to test the electric vehicles first in Europe, and obviously they were ready. They're ready over there in certain countries, some better than others, for electric vehicles. And that was a tremendous change for me because I couldn't fathom at the time of being a rookie in January of 2020, the electric vehicle movement would take off to where it is today. And of course, you can't forget the mobility. I mean, the mobility sector is another key stakeholder in the value chain of our industry, whether it's leasing or operational. And moving to a global platform when we became a Mondelez and going through that journey by consolidating the countries into 4 areas and streamlining it as best as we can with the different cultures that we have. I mean, that was a tremendous change for me. And I tell you, it was quite the rodeo because it made me develop some skills that I didn't have in the past, which is the professional development skills, especially when learning with different cultures. And the skills of the corporate program of one platform or one cannot fit all. You can't take the US or North America and cut and paste and put it into Europe. And those were the challenges and the changes that I dealt with. And the moving to the global platform, becoming a global fleet manager, extended my career. And when you love what you do, having your career extended is definitely a plus. So, and then last but not least, autonomous vehicles. Although I just touched on it, speaking from my own experience, these changes have just been the cornerstone of waking up in the morning and facing these challenges because as we learn, we're learning together and we're learning together for the first time. And that is why the whole value chain of the fleet industry is so important.
So let's talk lessons. What are some of the more important lessons that you've learned in fleet management that you really believe are crucial for new fleet managers to understand?
Well, I think the lesson that I learned in my fleet career is that it is progress, not perfection. Whether you're starting a new initiative or you're working with a new fleet management company, we all know that those challenges exist and we all have this goal set in mind. And believe me, coming from sales, my turnaround for sales and achieving a goal was 3 months. I had 3 months to make my number to make the quarter. And then I switched I come with that mindset into the fleet industry. And one of the lessons I learned was, hey, John, step back. This is not sales. This touches legal. This touches safety. This touches OEMs, fleet management company, and the many other important suppliers that I would like to mention, but this video would go on too long. And the neat thing about that is embrace it sooner rather than later as you join this industry of ours. And remember that the most important thing here is to move the needle. It's progress, not perfection. And that is one thing that I could share with them. Obviously, there are many more insights I've learned from different countries and different challenges when it pertains to whether it's the availability of the money volatility in a different country, or some of the homes that are not fit for electric vehicles. Those journeys you come across, and those are the lessons I learned to keep an open mind and be patient.
So we're going to take a real quick trip in a time machine. If you want to play along with me, if you could go back in time, what's one thing you wish you would have known when you first started out?
The importance of a governance team. Having worked for a multinational corporation, there are a lot of key stakeholders. And I went in having a lot of background with sales and communication. But the most important thing is I can't work in a separate silo and when I'm working on initiatives or projects, because if I did, I being at the level where I was in the corporation, I wanted to show senior management that this is critical for us to benefit from some cost savings, whether it's a fuel card program, whether it's an accident management program, whether it's a safety program. These are the benefits. So I had to get internal stakeholders involved, but that's just one step. After that, I had to find what is the best option. I didn't find this. I was fortunate to work with a company that was allowing, and it was structured to have a governance team. By having a governance team, you will be able to better get your projects implemented. And being a global fleet manager, that governance team is critical. Keep in mind, the governance team is a vice president and above. There are a lot of good senior directors that will, help the cause, but having learned from my experiences, it was great to have a gentleman that reported right directly to the CEO who bought into this program and bought into the governance team. And with that, it made my job easier.
So continuing on the start of our career, from your perspective, are there any kind of rookie mistakes that you're seeing that new fleet managers should really try to steer clear of?
When I saw this question, it brought a smile to my face because in my experience, I've experienced some hiccups at senior leading meetings and stuff like that. And I learned that that it's best when you notice those hiccups happening in a meeting. And it's probably not the most appropriate word, but at least it kind of gives you an idea of that I'm in this position of running the fleet. It's important that the leadership team is well aware of my surroundings. But when I speak or when I have a chance to address the leaders, it's more showing them the passion that you have for what you do, because I did have passion, and it's more to control that passion as best as you can, because everybody plays in the sandbox nice, but you do have to understand the culture and just continue to be who you are. Your DNA is your DNA, but they talk about emotional stability. And I believe that is very important, because when people are challenging what you're doing, you take it to heart. Don't take it to heart. Welcome their questions and then share it from the heart and see what happens there. And, it worked. It worked. For some good reason, it worked. And I'm very blessed to have experienced that.
I think it's a fantastic piece of advice. Don't take it personally.
Yeah. And they're asking what you stay clear of. So as I said, clear of, have an emotional balance when you're in them. But also, the only thing that I came across was I had one situation, somebody was texting in a meeting. And so don't text. because it kind of like it caught my passion by surprise. The good news is I waited till after everybody was done, and because the last thing in the world is you want to make sure your stakeholders feel welcome. But hey, nothing's perfect. It's just different generation, and I have to respect that.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So, thinking about what's worked well, what practices or innovations have you found to be the most effective in managing successful fleets?
Well, there are a few areas that I feel is successful in managing fleet, and it was a strategy that I used with the global fleet I ran. I having had many vehicles all over the country or the continent, I feel that the supplier consolidation was necessary to simplify the operations globally. So by consolidating suppliers, that benefited from a standpoint of cost savings, a benefit of new technology, and just from a benefit of having a good strategic partner. And once, as I shared earlier, the strategic partner are the ones that are going to help you make your goals. So consolidated was number one. And number two would be, I would look at opportunities to manage in a single segment of a vehicle, a single segment. At the time, and this goes back a few years, keep in mind, we wanted people to be in a compact vehicle. One thing we found that a definition of a compact vehicle in the United States, you might have a vehicle in the United States that's classified as a compact vehicle, but that same vehicle over in Europe, same size, dimensions, and everything is classified as a sedan, not a compact. So I found that out in consistency of trying to consolidate the car category to the best that you can. Once again, it will provide a better savings, better cost, and just a better framework for the global fleet that you're managing. Big thing was refocus on safety. I mean, look at the advancements in safety nowadays and the importance and everybody that is, and I see it so much on my Facebook feed, and LinkedIn, seeing the initiative and where we came, and having been, passionate in the industry and still is, the safety piece is critical because we want everybody to return home to their family, and that's how I see it. Also, having global and regional policy, having a global umbrella and a regional policy has helped, because this way you were able to deal with the exceptions, and then a focus on CO2 emissions. It kind of goes hand in hand with the electric vehicle movement, and focus on your CO2. And what we did is we had a CO2 cap for every region. So that to us provided some way to measure, once again, moving the needle, to see if we are heading in the right directions when it comes to emissions.
So we've touched on a few elements of technology during our conversation so far. It's very clear tech has come a very long way in fleet. Is there any other ways that you feel like it's changed fleet management that we haven't dived into yet?
I feel that the fleet departments are going to get smaller. You can see a trend already where with the use of technology, they get smaller. And my feelings on that is great, but make sure that that individual is able to obtain training, whether in the field of fleet or whether outside of fleet, because that transition deals with people. And anytime you deal with people, that can create some emotions. And my thoughts are, let's offer them an opportunity to revisit their skill sets, because they have good skill sets, and revisit them and where would that fit and best help them. And a lot of companies do provide that, but I do see the fleets getting smaller. And then going back again, the technology is safety training. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And I feel that anything we can do to make sure that, once again, that people come home in the evening to their families is going to benefit the company.
Over at Work Truck Week, there was a safety simulator in the General Motors booth, and I had an opportunity to sit down and to test the simulator. And it was pretty great to see the technology and how it was understanding where I was looking, what I was grabbing. It set me up a couple of times for failure. It asked me to pick up a cup and to do some distracted driving techniques, but it was so interesting to see it recognize that, it alerting, it really kind of helping to bring to mind some of the things that we might not be realizing are safety concerns. So that safety and tech element, I think you're absolutely right. It's definitely a big part, and it's growing in a lot of different areas of our industry.
Yes, it definitely is.
So let's look at leadership. You've clearly led very successful fleets, grown in the size of the fleets that you've been leading over the years. What strategies have you used to really build and lead a successful team that has worked to grow your fleets over the years?
Well, in the beginning of a new fleet structure, the one that I experienced when I first started taking over a global fleet, your team has to go through the storming and the forming and all those, just to become acquainted. And obviously that person that you're working with probably has a job description for what they do. And it's on record in the HR department. Plus, it as the individual manner. But this is in the beginning. In the beginning, I look at each people's core competency, and I only had a small team. I had two wonderful employees, Carla and Peggy, that worked with me. And during the North America journey, this is prior to the global journey. And during that journey, I became, aware of, okay, this is a better skill set, and I think we should be able to apply it there. And then of course, you got to support your people. You go over to the HR community and you share with them, this is the current job description. This is the future job description as I see it. And you get their buy-in. And that was successful with me because I had a partner in HR that we had a good relationship, and forming good relationships with internal and external stakeholders is critical. And I guess one might look this as a plus or a minus, but I've always led with the heart. If one of the members of our team needs to take care of their children, or needs to go to a doctor's appointment, or maybe just needs a day to get a break to work, I allow them to work out of home and take times out for doctor's appointment. I feel that's critical because I want to feel value added. And if the company allows me to do that, it makes me feel value added. So I kind of relate it over there. And I treat everybody with respect. It's okay to disagree. We can agree to disagree. But make sure that they're coming from maybe a different area. They might be coming from HR, they might come from logistics, they might be coming from safety and risk, they might be coming from the legal community. And those mindsets that they develop throughout their career might be different than yours. So first of all, treat them with respect and listen to what they have to say. And if sometimes what they have to say is incorrect, then back it up with facts the best you can in a very positive and respectful way.
There's a quote often misattributed to Winston Churchill, but it goes along the lines of, if two people in business always agree, then one of them is unnecessary. And it's always really struck me when I have conversations or disagreements with anybody that is a part of a strong business. They're bringing up a good mind, an alternative point of view, something I may not have thought of before. And like you said, whether it's correct or whether it might not be, just that practice of being open and thinking really can make a difference.
Yeah, it really can. And that's what makes it, that's what makes the journey interesting. As we know, we can always share interesting things we've experienced, but in a positive way, And sometimes I can go back and even laugh at them, and I'm like, maybe that wasn't the correct vehicle to have. Maybe I was just focusing in one area, the finance or acquisition costs. But I know it's not about acquisition, it's about total cost of ownership. So, yeah, you go back and laugh at your shortfalls, but at the same time, learn from them.
So we know keeping a team motivated is no small feat, whether they're a small team of two or a larger team. How did you manage to really keep your team engaged and inspired over the years?
Well, one thing I did was I got them involved in fleet associations and going to conferences and, obviously going for your CAFM. I went for my certification and I was able to get my certification outside of my regular working hours because our working hours are so big. So what I did there is I just tried to show them like, hey, listen, I'm doing this as well because I need to get those key learnings and I want that certification on my business card and then they see that, and then they both went for their certification programs. And when we dealt with a major reorganization, one of those person was let go and went to work for a fleet or a corporation that had over 5,000 units. And she was the fleet manager. So, in fact, she called me last night. It's amazing the time. She called me last night saying that she retired. And we had a half an hour conversation about the journey she had. And, this was to me, amazing. It was one of my highlights of being retired. I'm hoping there are more because sometimes the highlights don't occur as fast as they did before. Getting involved in leadership meetings, make sure they overcome those anxieties and just say, hey, this is what we do. We're not heart surgeons. We are fleet people. So let's go in there and, don't say anything stupid, but, be exposed to those meetings. And I exposed them to those leadership meetings and with cross-functional members. And I'll lead it here. I mentioned that, attend conferences. Well, I was down in Miami for the Global Fleet Conferences, and I don't recall what year it was, but I had 90% of my team on stage, including myself, moderating it, and all those members on the teams represent different countries, and English was their second language.
Wow.
Boy, was I proud of that. And that's what I did to engage these folks. And one didn't want to go in. One felt a little uncomfortable. And she did a tremendous job. So get out of your comfort zone and, what's the worst that can happen? And I was so proud then. And I also, to keep them engaged, I kind of gave them a quarterly development, whether it's professional development, whether it's a development in an area that they work in or finances or stuff like that. And keep in mind, this is from a global standpoint. And I just wanted the team to realize that building this platform, whether it's professional development or any other segment of our industry, and do it quarterly. Obviously, you might say, well, John, that's 4 times a year. You don't have to make it so complicated. They could read they could read an article from Automotive Fleet and, wow, I didn't know that. Well, that would qualify, for, development. Now, obviously, I would like them to read the entire Fleet magazine, but I have to respect other things that they have to do. And from there, it keeps them motivated with that quarterly incentive that quarterly assignment that they have. And we try not to make it complicated. We make it fun, but at the end of the day, we want to be in compliance. And one of the things we do is stay current with trends as best as we can.
Well, I second using industry publications like Automotive Fleet and Work Truck as a way to grow your knowledge and your success in the industry. I think that's some fantastic advice right there.
No, it is, and for example, when you become aware of a new technology, because sometimes we get really busy and we didn't come across it, and I'm like, whoa! So guess what's on the agenda for the next meeting, the internal meeting, is that article from the results of that article, and guess what's next with the external stakeholders? That article. Let's discuss. And we had fun doing it, and kind of like kept the ball rolling to the best of our ability. So that definitely helped out.
So we're working hard to grow our industry and to attract new fleet managers and new people in all of the segments. What advice would you give to new entrants into the fleet management industry today?
I would say be patient. Things doesn't happen overnight. And I would also have a good understanding of the challenges, the fleet challenges. Really have a good understanding, because that kind of, by doing that, is it tells you where to start. When I say understanding, I'm going into every component of the cost of ownership to have that fleet in the field. Really embrace that technical side from the standpoint of finance, from the standpoint of knowing that there are a lot of headwinds coming down the road, and just be ready for it. So, and even as a new person, you can do this, and lean on your strategic partners, because they will assist you to the best they can. And it's a win-win. It's a win for them, and it's a win for you. And once again, it's the team. It's not just one person.
So closing things out, we're going to hop into that time machine one more time, but we're going to go into the future this round. What trends or challenges do you foresee for the future of fleet management right now? And how should our new and even veteran managers prepare for them?
Well, I've seen a lot of consolidation. I'm seeing a lot is written about product availability. I'm also seeing a lot about privacy law, and I'm also hearing recently about the tariffs. And these challenges, I didn't have to face a challenge of the tariffs, and the consolidation I did, but not to the extent that we're seeing it today. I feel that stay current with all this stuff, with all this going on, the best you can. And Bobit Media Businesses does a great job in providing that the insights and what's happening. And I really would stay close to the core of these items, because they'll have some effect on how the fleet is ran in the future. And how are they going to prepare for this? What are they going to do? Once again, read Automotive Fleet, Truck Fleet, and stay current. Whether if you want to go the certification route, I think that is good, because think about it, folks. It's kind of like the CPA exam for accountants. That's what I feel. And I know there's other training programs out there. To embrace those too. I just saw one from AFLA, which is, to me, a tremendous focus on education. Because I couldn't go internally and get educated at Kraft Foods. Yes, I can go to presentation workshops, and yes, I could become familiar with how they strategize and stuff like that. But man, you got to go outside your office and really dig in and stay current.
John, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey and absolutely invaluable insights with us today.
Thank you. It's nice. It's nice to find out that people still remember you from the industry. It was a big, important part of my life, and it's memories that I will treasure forever.
Well, we're going to work and keep your story alive. It's conversations like these that remind us why preserving and passing down this knowledge is so critical for the future of fleet management. And to everyone watching, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What stood out to you? Who else should we spotlight in future episodes of the Fleet Legends series? Drop your comments below and join the conversation. And don't forget, there's more wisdom and inspiration coming your way soon. Stay tuned.